My fellow Americans, Edward Tyndall here. Today we're going to get a little bit political. This is a piece of Letharia henomobilis amica, among many other endangered or extinct species of animals, with millions more on the rise. I want to show you guys something that President Trump's administration is gutting the Endangered Species Act. Listen to this, and I'll tell you my thoughts.
Even in our divided times, there's some things that unite us. For example, love of animals, like the bald eagle, the grizzly bear, the humpback whale, and even the endearingly odd manatee. All these species were once on their way to extinction. And then their savior came in the unexpected form of Richard Nixon, Republican who championed the 1973 Endangered Species Act, which passed the House by a currently unimaginable margin of 355 to 4. But the Trump administration just announced that it will gut the Endangered Species Act by rolling back key provisions, effectively putting big business ahead of endangered animals. It's all part of a pattern. The president assures the American people he cares about the environment, then appoints industry lobbyists to key environmental positions. Science takes a backseat to ideology or short-term self-interest. And that's something that never ends well. For example, the Department of the Interior, which is behind these changes, is run by a former oil and gas lobbyist. And not coincidentally, there is concerns that these changes could open more land for, you guessed it, oil and gas exploration. Because one of the most controversial changes removes the requirement that scientists must decide whether a species need protecting regardless of economic concerns. This despite the fact that a recent Gallup poll found that 2/3 of Americans think that protecting the environment should be a higher priority than economic growth. Changes also make it harder for scientists to consider the climate crisis when determining whether or not a species needs protection. And that's really a problem, given that a recent 1,500-page report from the UN determined that more than 1 million species are at risk of extinction.
1 million.
Thanks to human activity, specifically climate change. Well, speaking of the UN, our newly minted ambassador there was recently asked by CBS whether she thinks climate change is caused by human activity.
I believe there are sciences that are on both sides that are accurate. Well, I think that both sides have, they have their own results from their studies, and I appreciate and I respect both sides of the science.
Okay, that both sides stuff might sound diplomatic, but in this case, it's just not true. And Ambassador Kelly Craft probably knows it, but she doesn't want to publicly contradict her audience of one in the White House. Because study after study shows that virtually all climate scientists believe the planet is warming and people are causing it. It's a symptom of a larger problem, and that's the growing partisan divide over science itself. Pew study shows that only 27% of Republicans say they have a great deal of confidence in scientists, as compared to 43% of Democrats. And there's a partisan divide on whether people want science to impact public policy as well, with 73% of Democrats saying so, but for Republicans, just 43%. It's not just the science that Republicans have a problem with. It seems to be the science itself. Get this. Some 44% of Republicans believe the scientific method can be manipulated to produce any conclusion the scientist wants. And all this shows why we're having problems agreeing on basic facts. And that, of course, makes it harder to solve common problems. Climate crisis doesn't care which party you belong to. As we confront rising floodwaters and raging wildfires, the climate crisis might just remind us a little bit too late that we're all a lot more similar than our politics might suggest. And that's the reality check.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. All right, people, if Donald Trump does not care about our endangered species, that means that all the endangered species of spiders and everything else that we have should be now allowed to be shipped or purchased or owned or whatever, because they're all going to go extinct anyway. And it really is the end of the world as we know it, because a lot of you guys don't know this, but Donald Trump is a time traveler. He already knows all of the outcomes, every possible outcome. The U.S. government's known it for years and years and years. But they're obligated to tell the public about this, so they do it through science fiction and stuff like that. Like Back to the Future 3, for example. I believe it was Back to the Future 3. You see Biff and he goes back through time. He gets a hold of this magazine, sports magazine or something, that he can make bets and tell the future and become rich and famous. Then he ends up becoming the president, and then it ends up in, I believe, it's been years since I've seen it, but I believe it ends in the White House, smoldering in ash in a wasteland. But that scenario has already been played out. So it is all about money, and y'all need to watch that show. Really, it's really a weird thing. Put Trump here and put Biff here. It's the same deal. But not to get off course, my point about this video here is that if the president, the father of our country, of the United States, decides that animals are not important anymore, it is left up to me and you who are watching to preserve these species if we want to enjoy them in our homes, in our schools, in our museums and stuff. We have got to be a secret ark to protect all these species, and before long there won't be a lot of them. So by the laws that the people in the tarantula community are putting out there is hurting the population, because we need free trade. We need our rights not violated. Our planet's already been being violated, and it's not right. So I would love to hear what your comments are in the comment section. Like and share this video, since the Endangered Species Act is now officially being gutted. Let's get this ball rolling and go ahead and present the new stuff to the courts or whatever. Whoever wants to ban us from shipping spiders or doing anything with spiders or anything with any endangered animal for that matter. And before they get rid of certain species of crocodilian and stuff like that, I definitely want to get my hands on a lot of different endangered species now, because not just spiders, because they're going to be gone. It's that simple. You heard it right there, and there'll be a million species. It's really sad, but with this sadness comes an opportunity that we can further preserve, and then one day when the world ends and there's still a few survivors left, we can rebuild and repopulate with our awesome animals that we've had. So y'all stay tuned. Peace, love, and happiness, and all that good shit. Like, subscribe, and tell your friends that we're 10 to 12.